Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Stud and Dud presented by the Dallas School of Music. Thank you all for listening. I'm Josh Smith. With me each week, Dr. Bob Lawrence.
I am so stoked.
I know, we just fly right into it because we got him back again. We finally have our returnee, Stud.
Our first return.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Our first return. Steve Kent, nice to join us again. And in perfect season, that's what we wanted to. Hey, because we're doing our Mount Right. Well, we did it last week. We'll talk about what happened last week, and just briefly. Yeah. But we're doing our Mount Rushmore of Pitchers. So the best person to have in-house, right? Our former MLB pitcher?
There's no better.
I mean, you kidding me?
Who would you want?
I mean, perfect. And then World
Seriously.
Series just ended. Now, the awards were just announced all week long.
A lot of baseball action, actually.
Yeah.
With the controversy going on with
Astros.
the Astros, the World Series, the awards. I mean,
Perfect time to have you back on.
Even the MVP award is starting to turn into a little controversy.
Right.
With who won.
See,
and,
man,
and
off-season baseball is as exciting as the season itself, man.
correct.
All right, on tap today, like I said, we'll do a recap of last week. Talk about Doc's missed blunders here.
Okay.
How many
times is he going to mention?
Well, I mean,
Hey,
come on,
look,
Doc. We had a show last week, and now I'm wearing the same clothing as last week. Oh, by the way, my Air Jordan 4s.
Did Babe Ruth hit a home run every time up?
No, almost.
Okay.
Almost.
All right. I'm just
Seemed
saying.
like it.
He did. All right.
All right. Obviously includes the trip back to the Mount Rushmore pitcher. So once again, this man's, I'm sure, already brewing in his mind for 4. Don't forget, 4.
4. You only got 4,
4
Steve.
now. Don't be adding the 5th one. Don't be adding yourself up there. Watch we're gonna throw you on the logo, so you will be the 5th one actually up there. He'll be the 5th one up there.
He's the 5th one up there, man.
Do a quick recap and review what we were just talking about. What happened last night in college, or I should say not college football. There was a college football game, but boy, in the NFL. Wow, we were just talking about it. We'll briefly mention that. You've got it. We'll have a little opinion. Well, not much, but I think we're all kind of on the right. But you can get into it as well, Steve. Preview the upcoming weeks. In the coveted Stud or Dud segment, it's time to pay tribute, which I did last week, to the hard workers out in Cali. But first, let's recap and preview. Last week, yes, we had a show, Doc. It's unfortunate. What was that? And you said, I think, and I don't remember that. I thought it was a different reason, but that happened the first show that we had to come
Very
back
first
and do.
show. I had our mics set to the same channel. So
this dude just
if
talks
that's not bad enough.
He talks so damn much. The whole show's gonna be him.
I was just gonna say bad enough that I had it to one channel, but it was to your channel.
I know, exactly.
Oh my God! If anybody we needed to have shut up was you and just have my mic on. But
get him involved in this next one. Halloween. We talked about Halloween last week. Your kids dressed up, right? Let's talk about. I love that. Your evening on Halloween. What was it like? You were here. It reminds me of like a Halloween movie. It could be like Goosebumps or something.
I was here. Gardner was home. Had every light on the house on. Man.
Did Gardner pass out candy?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was
passing out candy while Mom went out with the rest of the kids.
Mom went out with the rest of the kids.
And
Gardner was home by himself, scared, so he had every light on the house on.
I
think that's kind of the go-to now. Is the kids, especially high school age, are the ones that want to pass out the candy.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't want to do anything. They don't want to dress up anymore.
He loved it though. He loved seeing all the kids.
And your kids were?
Our kids went out. We had a slice of pizza. Fran Man was a slice of pizza. Fulton was a land shark,
right?
And Gracie was a lollipop.
And I was saying it would have been great if he was a land shark, because of course Mississippi, or I should say Ole Miss. But I'm like, it'd be funny if it was a land shark beer and pizza walking around out there,
or the baby shark,
right? Exactly, right. Exactly. Yeah, well, that's with that going on. So we talked about our favorite pastime. Your favorite as a kid growing up?
Zorro.
Mine was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Let's talk about yours. What was your favorite thing dressing up as a kid?
I think a He-Man character.
Oh, boom. I loved He-Man. I loved a lot of the 80s cartoons. Transformers,
awesome.
He-Man, Thundercat, all kinds of different ones in the 80s. That was a good time to watch some cartoons. So, boom. All right. Just had to pay a little tribute. And then also last weekend, the AAA 500, which I didn't realize. I went to my first NASCAR race out in Fort Worth, and was part of the playoff race, which is also really
those
awesome.
are a lot of fun, actually.
Did you go?
No, but I've been.
It's so cool. So yeah, seeing those cars fly by you at about 200. Oh my gosh! And I was telling him last week, which was so funny.
This is hilarious.
So instead of getting a beer, I'll get that nice, open drink. So I go down there, not a lid or anything, and I go down there on that first lap. They come flying by at $1.80. Woof! All the stuff from the track. 'Cause you're not thinking about that. Never been there before. All the grass, all the particles, and I look down at my beer, just full of I'm like, oh.
On the turn?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And
rookie
I'm just
mistake.
okay, got to down this guy now before anything else gets into it. It was hilarious, but it was great. It was great. And then I didn't realize that's why Avery, it lasted so long. There were 6 cautions in the first stage. That's the most cautions ever in any stage in NASCAR history.
Wow.
Which they just introduced the stage thing not too long ago, but there were 6 cautions, over 10 total in the race.
Wow.
Nuts. Yeah, so that's what the race lasted for like 4 hours. We were like,
How long is the average race?
For about 3 hours. Like this last race, they're over usually right about 5 o'clock, right?
So like a
before.
baseball game, 3 hours,
Right.
playoff game with the pitching changes.
Yeah,
and
exactly. But it was great to go to. I thought to bring that up. We were wanting to get out there together. I was trying to get Doc, but he's got a lot of things going on.
Next time, maybe I'll get my invite.
Yeah, right. Let's go. We should all go together.
That'd be fun, man.
Got to get a man.
Hey, listen,
that year's over, we go to Mavs game. Got a Stars game.
Mavs game, Stars. Hey, but you know what though? We're lucky to even have this guy back on the show today, because the last time we did the show, he was waiting for Jackson to make his arrival.
Right. So now you're a father.
Now he's daddy.
So how's that
Jackson.
life like?
Life changing.
You're right.
Isn't it right?
Yeah. You look
I'm
at
surprised he got here today, man.
That is true. Talking about, that's crazy.
He's over there with diapers and all
Right.
kinds of stuff flying around.
Right.
Literally all kinds of stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Literally. Also went to Posty Fest. I had to bring that up. Our boy from DFW. I love Post Malone. Not love him, but I like him a lot. Went to the hill. Now that he's holding his own festival at AT&T Stadium, which is awesome.
Yeah.
2 years in now.
You got his name on the Bud Light can.
I mean, you kidding me? That's super cool. So
Big time.
props to our DFW boy Post Malone, which we had the guys, which I know the guy who runs Legacy Music Group, which is in they came in after you did.
I saw that.
Yep, and so they worked with him early on with the work with Mac Miller and him. So that was loved going to that. That was super cool. We had 4 tickets, so that was really cool to get.
Oh, so you actually went to the Post Malone?
Yeah, we were at Posty
Festival.
Fest. Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was cool. I wanted to go because had to go. I'm a big concert guy, as we talked about last week.
He's at every concert, man.
Love concerts. So I was like, you know what, got to go. Pharrell Williams was there. Love Pharrell Williams. A couple other guys, the other new up and coming rappers.
I told him last week, I said, you know what group of people go to concerts the least than any other group of people? Musicians.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We just don't go.
Yeah.
And I said, I compared it to, I said, I've often wondered during the playoffs, right? Like Mike Trout's not in the playoff. I often wonder if he's going like,
Yeah,
I'm tuning it, right? See?
There are a select few guys, and they're
That's what I was gonna say.
they're
There's that
character
select
guys.
few.
They're really character guys. Some of the more outspoken guys on social media, they'll make an appearance in the stands randomly.
Right.
But
But
it actually happened recently. I can't remember off the top of my head, but somebody was it was Derek Holland, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Derek Holland was let go by the Giants, and before he was picked up by the Cubs, he was in the stands watching a Giants game.
There you go. Can't get enough of it.
But he's a character
Yeah,
also.
there you go.
Right.
He loves that stuff.
Right? So, yeah, we were laughing because we were saying, like, you're not going to see, like, Mike Trout and Bryce Harper in the
Yeah,
stands
right.
with his beer.
Kershaw beside him. Yeah, that'd be great if it was like 4 or 5 of them out together. On to this week, Cap, the big work, because main reason I mentioned it because my Broncos and your Cowboys are attending the workout yesterday for Kaepernick. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did not see it, but I heard about it.
Yep. So that's we'll see. I didn't really see how the shakeout. Well, that obviously play out throughout the weekend. So we'll see if anyone picks him up. Any thoughts on that, Kaepernick?
It's a tough call. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes it's not about just talent. It's a business.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And teams need to make money.
Yep.
They pay the bills. And
Like you're just saying, it's about character, and it could be different ways about it. But
if I'm an owner, and I think somebody's going to be detrimental to my profit, then I'm going to try to avoid it.
Right. Also this week, number 1 Kentucky goes down. That was kind of crazy to see against Evansville.
David and Goliath,
There
man.
you go. And the funny thing about it, it's Evansville's coached by Walter McCarty, who used to play for the Kentucky Wildcats back in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to play against the Razorbacks, so I remember that back in the
Who
day.
was the coach during that time?
Rick Pitino.
Oh, yeah.
And here's back, and we'd be back Arkansas. We were 1-2. One year we were number 1. So here's one because he beat us. Walter McCarty has never lost, or is 3-0. I should say 3-0 against number 1 ranked teams or something like that. He's beat Arkansas when we were number 1 at once. When he beat us, Duke, and now Kentucky as a head coach. He's 3-0 against facing number 1 teams. Wow, pretty good. I had to bring that up. I was like, it's kind of cool for Walter McCarty. Now we'll start twisting it towards something y'all want to talk about. But first, speaking of basketball, college basketball, next week we'll really dive into basketball. Dirty play going. Did you see Memphis, the University of Memphis, playing the uneligible player? They're just foregoing, saying, we're going to play him. And then now they declared him ineligible, so now they're going to retry to reinstate him.
I did not hear about that.
His name's James Wiseman. Not a wise move by Memphis, but yeah, Penny Hardaway. And I'm like, man, they had such a great thing going, and NCAA is. Here's the thing, like y'all can get into college stuff. So NCAA said no, he's ineligible, can't play. Memphis says whatever, and they play him anyway, risking if he comes back declared for sure ineligible, they're going to face what? Sanctions of some sort. Very
Is it
weird.
just for that game or
3 games he's played, and now yesterday they came out and said, okay, now we've declared him ineligible as well. We're going to sit him and then try to reinstate him through a weird mess. Anyway, we'll go on to something that also the more dirty play, the Astros. More of y'all's cup of tea.
I can't even believe there's cheating in sports. I can't even believe that.
Right. So how do y'all feel about that?
Steve picks up on
I
my
know.
sarcasm.
Right. Immediately. Especially still in college. How long do you think that's been going on in baseball, Steve, since you played the sport?
Forever. How long is that? Forever.
Yeah. Any sport, too.
Every sport. There's
Spygate with or whatever you want to talk about with Bill Belichick.
If you don't think other quarterbacks wanted the ball deflated, then you've never thrown a football.
Right.
That
trying to steal plays, even or trying to reel those signs they do, or just, I mean, you're gonna try to, or baseball, you're gonna try with the thing. They're gonna try to figure out what they're doing. You're not gonna be like, well, they're just gonna let them do that, and we're gonna do our thing, and they're not gonna look at what we're doing.
That even happens at the junior high school level. The boys are there trying to pick up signs.
Well, if you're a starting pitcher and you're not playing that night, you're just sitting in the dugout doing nothing. It's almost an unwritten rule that it's your job to watch the opposing starting pitcher to see if you can pick up on him tipping his pitches.
Something immediately comes back to me when Peyton Manning was going, what was this? Omaha! Oh, what, you don't think they're trying to figure out what Omaha is? So it comes down to even that. They're trying to figure out what you're doing. What does Omaha mean?
Does anybody ever figure out what the hell Omaha
and he
means?
would break it down. Like sometimes it would be a slant. So the first quarter it's a slant. So now they're starting to pick up it in the second quarter. Now a slant. Now it's a sluggo. It's a slant and go.
Oh, I see.
So they're
always... Same thing with pitching signs. I mean, it's usually, let's say it's second sign. So in the first inning, it's, second sign. And then in the second inning, it could be third sign.
Right.
In the fourth inning, it could be the first sign after the two. You change it.
Always, constantly. So I just wanted to bring that up. I figured y'all feel right there.
But, just to touch on it one more time, if they were actually planting illegal cameras, which is allegedly is another thing, then that's breaking the rules because you have an advantage that no one else has.
Yeah, you're doing something totally different.
So
that takes it to another level.
That takes it to another level. So if that's the case, then there will be punishment.
That $2 million fine for sure that they're all talking about.
Yeah, and a draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're still the World Series champs.
Who was in the World Series this year?
Right.
Okay, and then who did the Astros beat? I'm sorry, who did the Nationals beat?
The Astros?
No,
Nationals beat the Cardinals.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you think about it, how long ago, and it wasn't that long ago, did the Cardinals get in trouble for something as severe as what the Astros are going through when they tampered with the Astros computers or something like that? Somebody hacked them. The Cardinals got punished, and nobody ever talks about that anymore.
Yeah.
And that was only 2 or 3 years ago. And they made a great run in this year's playoffs. Nobody's talking about the Yankees getting reprimanded for the eye watch, wearing the watch in the dugout. The Red Sox were the ones with the watch, where they were getting signals, getting beeped in from the eye watch. Now there's no more smart watches allowed. It's an evolution of cheating.
Right.
If they eliminate something, then you're gonna adapt and figure out something else.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna catch on to that, and then it's just gonna keep
forever and ever.
What are your thoughts on this? Because this is interesting. It always amazes me that the best teams and best players in sports will get caught cheating, and they don't need to. And I'll give you a great example. Like, I'm always amazed at the baseball players that were got caught with steroids and performing enhancing drugs. I'm going you didn't need it, dude. You just didn't. Is it because they wanted to stay on top of their game, or what is it?
No, you're looking at it from a fan's perspective. From a player's perspective, maybe talent-wise they didn't need it. But as a human, your body can only endure so much.
Good point.
So it's not, how they classify them as performance-enhancing drugs. They're not really performance-enhancing drugs. They're maintenance-enhancing drugs.
I was going to say, because a lot of times you get steroids. Like when I had my hernia surgery, I could have gotten steroid shot. You get my point. There's something to keep your body rolling and going.
Baseball is a very rigorous. Although it's a slow played game, but it's very rigorous in the fact that. Let's say you're playing the Yankees and you go 14 innings. I'm sorry, you're playing the A's and that game goes 14 innings, and then you got to fly across the country to play the Yankees
the very
next day in a day game.
Yeah.
And you just played 14 innings. You got a long flight. You got a time change. How is your body going to adapt?
And there's just studies coming out about the sleep thing. Especially for athletes that need the 8, 9 plus really hours of sleep. The premier athletes studies have shown that. The studies have come out lately. It's showing it can cause all the way down to cancer if you do not get enough sleep in your life. I'm like, really? I'm like, but it's crazy. So that comes to it. You're draining your body.
It's a maintenance enhancing drug, really.
Correct.
Right? That's how the athlete's thinking of it.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark McGwire, when he was hitting 500-foot home runs, 450 is still a home run. It doesn't count twice because he hit it 500.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So he would still have the power, but would he have the power, would he have the ability to do it day to day?
Right.
Every single day for 162 games.
Yeah, that's the thing too. You're speaking any other sport, even basketball. We're going to lower the 82 games. They're double that. You know, or y'all are. You know, I speak of y'all because y'all are the big MLB. But that's 160. In NBA, exactly. We're NBA's.
See how you wanted to add those two, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because, right?
It's a big deal.
It makes it right.
How many times have we seen? How many times have we seen a one-game playoff?
Yeah,
Right.
Because teams play 162 games and they finish at a tie.
Crazy. Which
Every
is nuts.
game is important.
Nuts.
Awesome, man.
Well, I thought you were going to mention this earlier when he said on the last show that he was here. I guess he had 2 really big news drops. Baby, this dude over here predicted the World Series. I mean, don't forget, we go back. That was opening day, the day after opening day. And we talked about baseball, but we also, like we do in any sport, like next week we're going to do our NBA Finals and NCAA March. Anyway, Final Four predictions. Well, that day we did our World Series predictions. You went with the Phillies. I went with the A's. This guy over here, and he did it in previous episodes. I didn't feel like go back and finding it. He went with Nationals.
Wow.
The Nationals.
Come
this
on,
guy
man.
right here predicted the World Series champ back in March.
I predicted the Phillies would win it all.
That's what you said. You went Phillies.
What a
you,
bad
you
decision.
Yeah. You went Phillies.
Not really, man, because at that time, and again, on paper, Phillies were looking like they were going to be
And the one thing
badass.
was also funny, because I posted yesterday. Here's the one thing that you actually spoke on. Well, they do usually have really good line. They've had so many great squads, pitching and hitting. Boy, look at the World Series. The pitching that you spoke of and the hitting that I didn't even know that they had, and they really showed up huge against the Astros pitching. Wow, the offense they had. So you then touched up on it. It's just a great 1 minute and 15-minute segment or a little clip that I have.
The other thing we touched on when I said the Nationals, I said I picked them because I thought it would be
great for them to win.
Especially with Bryce Harper leaving, right? Because and you chimed in and you said that's why if they do win, that's why they win. They have a chance to win because of that.
Yeah,
because that's what we talked about. They didn't sign that. You got to pick
Because
up a ton of players.
I don't think if he stays, he stays, I don't think they win the World Series.
I don't think they barely make the. I think it's one thing they barely make the playoffs because all that talent they brought in that they instead of paying him, they brought in a lot.
Well, if you watch the beginning of the season, the Nationals really struggled. Like they were talking about firing the manager. There was a lot of problems early in the season that they kind of turned around, and when they turned around, they never turned back.
They didn't, yeah, because we talked about it all year long. We'd speak about it, and A's were right there, which was great. They were about to have the same
A's
record.
are always there, man.
Yeah, so I almost went Stros, which is funny, and that would have been because that was my other pick, but it's such a homer pick, and I talked about that right beforehand, but I almost went Stros, so that would have been a great debate for two shows between us having the Stros and the Nationals.
So check it out, man.
But here's the Super Bowl pick. So
Wait,
Super Bowl pick. Okay,
wait, man. Now wait.
What?
I picked the Nationals to win the World Series.
Yeah.
And how did they start? Very poorly.
Yeah.
They're talking about firing their manager, right?
dude picked
I
the
went out on a
Browns.
limb. I picked the Cleveland Browns to win
They're
the
3-6.
Super Bowl.
They're not winning the Super Bowl.
Now, they have the talent. I think that's coaching there on that team, man. That team's got some talent.
Yeah, we'll see. We got to give Freddie Kitchens a little bit more time, certainly so. But yeah, we'll see. I sent you the thing about Baker Mayfield.
So they start off
preseason or post or whatever.
All right, but I'm just telling you right now, if the Browns turn it around and win the Super Bowl,
they're not.
Dude,
I picked the Patriots. I'm gonna be smart this time.
Hey, if the Browns win the Super Bowl, screw this. I'm not going to be on Stud and Dud anymore,
Oh,
man.
no.
I'm on with Stephen A. Man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. You're like playing the piano. Yeah, right, Steve. So here's what's gonna happen today.
Steve's going to take over my spot
Yeah.
on Stud and Dud because I'm off the ESPN,
That's fine.
man.
But it was great. I had to bring that up. So last show that you were on, it was great that we did ours. So next week we'll do our NCAA. So you'll have a couple chances next week to redeem your Browns pick. But hey, you can ride on the Nationals for like 4 years. Are you kidding me? Especially how early on you picked it. It wasn't like you picked it midseason, even a quarter way, or even obviously at the playoffs. You picked it.
Steve, and you know why I picked that? Their rotation. That pitching rotation
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
What was key for them is they stayed healthy.
Yep,
Right.
that too. Yep. Yeah, I mean, any sport. I always talk about. I used to love Terrell Davis or Braun. Anyway, any sport, like all about how long you like the Brady's of the world, the Emmitt Smiths of the world. You don't see that very often. So if you stay healthy, especially during the season, crucial. All right, let's get on to the winners. AL MVP, Mike Trout, your boy. He wins it. You happy with that?
I think absolutely.
Obviously.
I think absolutely.
I think it's a no-brainer. Also,
Yep.
I mean, the only debate I think, and what people are really, really trying to run with, is the success the Astros had, and Bregman being on the Astros. He was a major contributor to that success, but in my opinion, his numbers don't stack up to the rightfully so MVP winner Mike Trout.
Well, I was talking to Gardner about this, and he had a good point. He said the MVP should go to a player that actually makes the biggest impact and difference for that team. He said, if you take Mike Trout off the Angels, you take what with Mike Trout is a mediocre team, and they become worse than the Miami Marlins. If Bregman goes down injured, the Astros are still a very powerful team.
Yeah, but I mean, second place might as well be last.
Correct.
So, yeah, great point, and it does have some valid points, but in baseball, I think it's irrelevant. Like it doesn't matter if your team. What it boils down to is the individual stats, because baseball is an individual sport. You know, your team can be 0-162, and you hit 440 bombs and 140 RBIs, you're going to win the MVP.
Hence the Mike Trout selection.
Correct.
NL MVP, Bellinger. Y'all happy with that pick?
No.
I mean, obviously, I wanted my man Yelich to win. But
Yeah, that's who I thought Yelich should.
Yeah, I always say Yelich, but yeah, Yelich. What would you see there?
I think the Bellinger winning was the right choice. I think he's
well, from about August, because I remember, obviously, because I went. So that's when I really started diving into baseball. So A's doing okay, good. They're gonna hopefully make the playoffs, and that's when I was looking at the NL MVP, because I knew Trout was looking to win, but that's when they were already saying then, because then Yelich got hurt, and it looked like Bellinger, or whenever that was, September,
Bellinger
maybe even.
started off ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, his first half was historic.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was almost looking like it was already in the bag.
There was
kinda.
a quote on MLB Network that anytime that your face is on the screen and the guys next to you are in black and white, you've done something amazing, because you're talking about old school players, and they're comparing some of the first half.
That's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
They're
man.
comparing some of Bellinger's first half stats to like guys like Ted Williams.
Oh my God.
You know, and old school guys like that.
And you know you've done really something really great when there's just a silhouette next to your face.
Correct,
mean,
yeah.
They don't even have a picture of the guy, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how far back it
It
goes.
goes. You're like, well, we don't really have a picture of this guy, but something more I'm sure you definitely can't wait to talk about. The AL Cy Young, Verlander. You happy with that pick?
Yeah, I think that's a.
Seemed like it was between him and Cole, so that's
yeah, it's teammate battle, but
Yeah.
I think Verlander, regular season stats, Verlander, his season was better.
exactly. In postseason, got to go Cole.
Now Cole
but-
though was undefeated since May.
Yeah,
I mean that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's
He-
historic.
12-0, I think.
I mean,
like
come
that.
on. So what do you think he's thinking in the back of his mind? And be honest. What do you think he's thinking?
I'm about to get paid,
Well, that's it for sure.
regardless of the award. I mean,
That's probably the first thing he probably is thinking. He's like, oh,
yeah,
I'm
like
about to get some
you know,
money.
Verlander's made a ton of money. You know, he's already won a
36,
Cy.
the third or fourth oldest to win it.
He's
They had the
already
list of
he's
us
already
up, yeah.
won one. I think it was the longest between wins.
Between Cy Young
Yeah,
wins.
is Verlander.
Crazy. I didn't
He
know
was
Eckersley
8
won one
years.
at that age. I think Eckersley was the other one that won at an elderly. I didn't know Eckersley won at that age. I was like, wow, he was good with the A's until the anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, second time. But anyway, back what you're saying. Second time for when was it? Was it
2011
with the Tigers?
With the Tigers,
That's
yeah.
what I thought. That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
So, but you know, it's got to be kind of like, you know, it's like the Academy Awards, Best Actor, and you come in second, and the second guy's going like,
Oh yeah, on TV. Yeah, right,
yeah, and you know he's going like,
Yeah.
right.
Well, you know, there's always I don't know, and I don't know Garrett Cole, so I could be wrong, but in the back of his mind, he's got to be thinking, well, I'm about to make more money.
Yeah, because
than
what's he? How old is he?
28.
That's what I thought. So
Maybe.
he'll finally get his big prime contract now. Probably.
Oh,
think,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean that's buku's.
with or
money.
without the award. I mean, he
Yeah,
gets hit regardless.
I mean, like you
regardless.
said. I mean, win hadn't lost. I should
He's
say.
the most sought after free agent. So part of free agency is setting yourself up to be a free agent compared to who else is going to be a free agent.
Right.
So if you're looking ahead at the market, which good agents do, you're looking ahead at the market and you're trying to figure out, well, I play center field, and in 2020 there's no free agent center fielders. So I want to be a free agent in 2020 because I'm going to be the most sought after player.
Right.
Therefore, I'm going to get the largest contract because I'm in highest demand.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we've seen players set themselves up like that and receive large contracts that haven't really panned out just
Right.
because they were in the right
Place it there, the
free
right-
agency.
yeah, time, yeah.
You know, during the World Series, man, I thought of you oftentimes, and I thought
As you should.
I did, man. I almost texted you, but I said, man, I don't want to bother him. He's changing diapers right now. He's got Jackson on the floor watching the World Series, and so. But you know, and believe it or not, when I would think of you was when I would watch Anthony Rendon, because you are always big in your lessons and talking about the mental side of the game. And being able to stay in control of that and to lock in. And I was just really amazed at watching that guy, how he plays the game. I mean, whether he strikes out, whether he hits the home run, whatever he does, man, his demeanor is like just totally
ice.
Exactly. It's so impressive.
That's I mean, that's the concentration level of a everyday successful everyday Major League Baseball player. There's no highs, there's no lows. It's just grind. And those guys, they know that their hits will come, their opportunities will come, and they'll make the most of it. If you panic because you don't get a hit and you're 0 for 3 and you're down on yourself, that game time run on third base comes up and for your fourth at bat, and you're carrying the third at bat into that at bat, or maybe an error on the field or something, then you're 0 for 4 now.
Yeah.
But if you hit a blooper for a base hit, not even a line drive, just a blooper for a base hit, now you're 1 for 4 and you score the game-winning run. Nobody thinks about or will remember you're 0 for 3. Everybody's going to remember that hit and that RBI.
Yep.
Yeah. His heart rate, man, had to be like 20.
Well, the anxiety level. The guys that have the most success don't have anxiety.
It's crazy.
He would come to bat at crucial times during that series, and it was like May.
Yeah.
It was like May.
Yep. It's crazy going back to any sport, obviously. Think of the ice cold, Mannings to the Bradys of the world. Going to obviously my man, the GOAT Jordan. When you think of their Kobe's, there's another one, that are just stone cold ice through their veins. That's what you have to have. Like you said, it's just a grind. There's no up, there's no downs. Who cares if I'm like Jordan, I'm 1 for 20. As long as I hit that game-winning shot and we win.
Short memories, right?
Exactly. Super short. Exactly.
Basketball players,
players
or golfers too, but think about basketball players, excuse me, and a free throw.
Right.
A free throw is probably the easiest shot in all sports. There's nothing.
Nobody in your face.
Yeah, there's no interference. But it's just you and a shot that you've done a million times in your life.
Right.
But the anxiety will cause your muscles to tighten up, and that will cause you to miss. Yep. So the guys that have no anxiety, like Rendon walking up to the plate like it's May, or even take that a step further, like he's in his garage hitting off his dad.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's the atmosphere that he puts himself in to where he can succeed.
Mental toughness.
Impressive.
Yeah. Yep. So the NL Cy Young, DeGrom, y'all happy with that one? Scherzer over Scherzer. I know you may have been. I don't know if you want Scherzer or.
I think so. I think DeGrom was.
That's what it was definitely a great season for him.
Back to back too, man.
Right. I know, right? That's crazy.
Back.
And it's crazy. In the same year, we have two two-time winners, back to back, and then Verlander.
Keep going, guys.
Oh, well, super important. Probably ESPN calling. They're like, hey, we heard you predicted the World Series back in April. Can we get you on for that?
Stephen A.
Oh, it is. You already have his number.
Yeah, but I don't have time to take it right now.
Get into the World Series. We'll talk about that since you are here. Obviously, super pleased with the way it ended out.
I thought it was probably the best World Series we've seen in a long time.
Okay.
There you go.
I told you.
Yeah, just had to get his point in.
He would say that it was a boring game.
Oh, no.
Well,
I
boring.
said,
I said after the 7th inning, somewhere in that range, you could tell where teams were taking. Because I do anything in life, I look at logic, and I can tell when a team's kind of getting a cold and the team's really getting hot. And so, yes, they're still good games. That's what I was telling them. I just like getting your feathers riled up is how you say it. Anyway,
no, that was a phenomenal World
It was
Series.
a phenomenal World Series. But that's what I said. And you look at it, every game, though, it was almost every game except for one, I think. Every game but game one, 6th, 7th inning, a team would take off, and the other team could just not get it going. That's the only thing I was disappointed. I was like, oh, I love those where the team they can't help but not giving up. They just can't get the bats going. And then they're so close, like you said, they're so close, but but anyway, phenomenal World Series, certainly so.
But certainly,
come
watch
back
baseball,
from 3. We'll come back from. Anyway,
it ain't over till
down.
that last out, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially that. And when else are we going to see potentially 5 Hall of Fame pitchers battling it out in one World Series?
At least 20 years.
At least 5.
Yeah, because it's been since like maybe the Braves and the.
I think it's probably 01 Diamondbacks Yankees.
Correct.
There you go.
Schilling, Randy Johnson. You got Mariano Rivera, Mike Mussina. Couple other Yankees.
It comes around not too often.
Yep, and great offenses too on each side.
Yeah.
So definitely great World
Series.
But
at the end of the day, if you're not on the field, regardless if you're a current player or former player, you're a fan. If you're not playing, you're a fan. And from a fan's perspective, that's what we all wanted was a 7-game series for it to come down to two dudes two horses going head to
Right,
head.
yeah, it was, right?
It was awesome.
And was Verlander game 7?
Cole.
Oh, Cole. I couldn't remember which one was Cole. I couldn't remember if it was Cole.
No,
or
Actually, it was-
it was Greinke.
Actually, it was Greinke.
Oh, it was Greinke. That's right, it was
Greinke
Greinke.
who pitched the gem.
Yeah.
He did, that's
What'd
right.
you think about that? What'd you think about that, man? Hinch is getting all kinds of grief because he didn't bring Cole in. That he yanked Greinke in the sixth inning.
He went sixth.
Okay, yanked him and then pulled in Peacock. Was it Peacock?
Jeremy Peacock. Yeah.
Peacock instead of Cole.
No, I remember him coming out. I remember Greinke coming out because Greinke is another guy, no anxiety. I don't even think he realizes that there's 50,000 people there watching him.
Right.
But he did acknowledge, which I've never seen him do. He did acknowledge the fans. I remember seeing him walk off, but I don't remember who came in after. And I think it was
I
Peacock.
think it was Peacock instead of Cole.
And that's when he gave up a home run to Rendon, I think.
Yes, and Rendon said afterwards, no, he gave up. No, what happened was Greinke gave up the home run to Rendon. Then they yanked him. And Rendon said afterwards that he was shocked because he said Greinke had them off balance all game. He said he happened to leave one hanging over the plate that I took yard, one, and they yanked him.
Yep. I mean, everybody's a GM, everybody's a manager.
Yeah, especially with
you know.
Monday morning quarterback type thing. And I'm right there with you. I remember seeing that too. Now thinking like, man, because I like Greinke.
But I was thinking, man, you're pulling him awfully soon for having a, even John Smoltz was saying, man, this guy's pitched lights out.
Who was great, by the way. Let me just add that.
Oh, wasn't he?
John Smoltz
Yeah, Smoltz was good, yeah.
amazing.
Isn't he awesome?
He could just commentate, in my opinion, by himself, and we would listen to him. He actually got on Joe Buck one time and said, I don't know what you're talking about, but this is how it is. And I was like, wow, good for him.
All right, we'll keep it baseball related. I hope you've been thinking. Well, let's get into it. The Mount Rushmore of pitchers. And we went over this last week. We're going to dive into it again. Ours don't have to be nearly as long, and I'm going to run down some of these, the list of crazy Hall of Famers that easily could make anyone's list. Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Grover Pete Alexander, Lefty Grove, Tom Seaver, Warren Spahn, Bob Gibson, Clemens, Pedro Martinez, Maddox, Glavine, Kershaw. Not on my list, or I don't think they were on yours. I don't think. But those were just big-time old names that weren't on either one of ours. Now, Steve, I know you've been brewing and thinking. Do you need any more time?
No.
We're going to share with them what our...
Yes, I just want to make sure he didn't need any more time. Right ahead, sir. Let's start with yours. In order. Let's go from 4 to 1 again, if you
I
remember.
believe my 4 slot was the big unit.
It was the big unit.
The big unit was the number 4 slot. I think my number...
So, hold on. Sorry to interrupt.
Go
Are we
ahead.
going, these are your top
Top
pitchers
4
of all
from
time?
4 to 1. That
Of
are
all
gonna,
time.
That, yes, of all time. You're going to plaque them on your Mount Rushmore.
So I went with the big unit,
303
number 4.
wins, 3.29 ERA, 10.61 K per 9.
Yes.
Just some numbers out there. And then I know who you went number 3.
My
so go
number
ahead.
3 was Pedro Martinez. Number 3.
And he has 219 wins, but 10 K per 9, 2.93 ERA.
My number 2 pick, I went a little old school. I went with Bob Gibson.
One of your favorites, right?
I grew up, I guess I got sentimental attachment.
Yeah,
there.
251 wins, still great. 2.91 ERA, had the 7.22 K per 9.
Right.
And number 1, your big daddy.
Well, number 1, Nolan Ryan.
324 wins, 3.19 ERA. He is most Ks ever. I mean, Mr. Strikeout.
Yeah. So it's really hard to pick 4 pitchers, but that's
Boom.
That's who I went
Randy
with.
Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Bob Gibson,
Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan. All right, now my 4. Going Sandy Koufax. My dad's favorite. You almost plaqued him up there, so I'm going with Mr. Koufax. As kind of like what we talked about last week, kind of like a Barry Sanders-ish, almost Jim Brown, especially back in the day. Doesn't pitch really that long. Only pitched, 10 seasons if I can find his stats. There he is. So only 165 wins, 2.76 ERA, 9.28 Ks per 9. But the stat I brought up last week that I had to bring up, from 63 to 66, Kent, he averaged 24.3 wins, had a 1.86 ERA, and averaged 307 strikeouts per year. Pretty good.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty stout. Nolan Ryan.
That
my
was how
number
many
3.
years?
For 4, from 63 to 66. I guess 3 to 4, somewhere in that range. Those was his last year. So he retired on that. It was like Barry Sanders almost when he went for 2,000. Had another year after that, and won the MVP. He was like, you know what, I'm good. You know what, I don't want to catch him in. I'll let him have it. He's a good guy. Anyway, number 3, we're going with Nolan Ryan. Loved him growing up. I mean, I just loved him because he was
Your
a
number
boss.
3 pick was Nolan Ryan?
Number 3 was Nolan Ryan. Number 2 pick, because he was my favorite growing up, and boy, just a monster on the mound. The lefty. The
John
big unit.
Elway.
Yeah, right. Well, it would have been if he was a lefty. Big unit, Randy Johnson at number 2. And my number 1 all time, I'm just going back to the old school, Mr. Win, Mr. Done It. The award's named after him. My number 1 is Cy Young. So I've got Sandy Koufax, Nolan Ryan, big unit, Randy Johnson, and Cy Young at number 1. Who you got? Flackham at number 4. Who are we going?
I mean, this is tough. I'm gonna maybe these will be scattered, and then I'll rearrange them.
Doesn't matter. That's all good.
Because my unanimous, easiest pick is Nolan Ryan at number 1.
Number 1, all right. It's easier to go 1 to 4 when you're off, especially from the top of your head.
I think I'm putting Randy Johnson at number 2.
Boom. Together at number 2. I like it. So he's made all the boards.
It's hard to argue with
him
that.
and Nolan have made the boards.
That's hard to argue with.
There we go.
I mean, for as many Cy Youngs, I don't know how many he's won. I think he's the all-time leader, actually. I'm going to put Roger Clemens at number 4.
Ooh, he was almost made my list. He was my maybe.
Yeah, he's hard. He's hard to leave off that list too, man. Golly.
And I don't. This is tough. I think I got to throw Greg Maddux in there.
Oh, Mr. Maddox.
So this is my personal opinion, or who I think is the best of all time, or my favorites.
Your top 4. Your top 4. You can add your favorites if you want to, but this is if you had to go to the top 4. I mean, there's so many you can go with, but your top 4. You got 4. You're in the World Series, and you can pick any 4 pitchers for your starting 4. Obviously, you'd have a 5th one probably if you could. But say you are like the Nationals, you can go 4 deep. Who are you going?
I think I'm sticking.
I mean, that's a hell of a line. I mean, you kidding me? Yeah, you can't really go wrong there.
Yeah, I like Maddux. I mean.
I've got this. I mean, Rogers. I mean, this is different ones, but all these guys are in the top 10 of this list, right? But they threw Kershaw in there. I'm like, it's a little early for Kershaw for me, but
yeah,
maybe let him win a World
I'm
Series.
a huge Kershaw fan. I think he does a lot of great things. He's not finishing as strong as some of the greats have finished in their career.
Right.
Some of the great pitchers like Randy Johnson have had great seasons leading up to their retirement. Good seasons, 2 or 3 good seasons leading up to their retirement, where I don't know if Kershaw's finishing as strong. A knock on Nolan Ryan is I believe he never won a Cy Young.
Exactly, yeah.
But he has a record that will never be broken. Never.
The 7 no-hitters.
The strikeouts.
Strikeouts.
Probably the no-hitters.
I'm not sure. I was just going to say, I'm not sure the no-hitters will.
But the strikeouts will never be broken just because nobody throws that many innings anymore.
That's what we were talking about last week.
So
they don't go full games.
Yeah, you'll see some of the previous Hall of Fame benchmark stats. It used to be 300 wins, you're a shoe-in. We're not going to see many guys get to 300 wins anymore.
Yeah.
So that number is going to lower. The strikeouts amount is going to lower. You obviously can't strike out as many dudes if you don't have as many innings. The ERA I think is going to go down because some of these guys they're going out there and they're dominating 5-6 innings and they're done.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They're not going through the lineup a third and fourth time. The way the game is structured now, the bullpen is eating up those innings, and then you have your closer, and then with the addition of an opener. Some of the guys that would traditionally be a starter their outings are now being shortened also. So you're not going to see, some of the innings, some of the stats get achieved because there's less innings.
Go back to your stat or about Roger Clemens, but a quick stat about Cy Young. Speaking to both these points, all-time leader. Well, not all-time leader. It may be, but complete games. He has 184. 184.
Wow.
Complete games. Guess what his ERA was in that? 1.93. Now, back to your point now about those complete games. The last one to have that even close to that many, and he had a 24-year span, which you won't probably see any pitchers have a 24-year span, is your man Clemens, who pitched 118 complete games.
Wow.
So that surprised me. He had 118. So,
but Clemens, the era Clemens finished in is the era where that kind of started changing.
That's exactly what I said last week. You could tell in about 80s or 90s was about, and 2000s where we started seeing relief, more of the relief pitching coming into effect.
Well, my number 5 pick. You know who my number 5 pick was?
Besides Steve.
Well, I had the big unit 4, and I had the almost unit at 5.
Oh, there we go. I knew it. I loved it. There you go.
We know who the almost unit
we
is.
We do. And it just even back to the day, obviously this was 1901 to 1905. 1901 to 1905, there were 34 pitchers that logged at least 100 complete games.
Yeah, see,
It's just crazy back. I mean, it's forever ago, but it's just one of those lost things where
I look at it, when the stats started to really count when the games went to color. When you got color on the TV,
right.
That's when they really start to count. So some of the old school guys, although I'm a baseball fan and I'm about the tradition, but going that far back, I don't really go that far back because humans as in general weren't what they are now. We didn't have nutrition, exercise, and stuff like that. Although that, in relative to time, that is still fairly new as far as exercising, nutrition, stuff like that. But I don't look to go that far back.
Yep.
So
when I brought to it was just crazy how they had to though back then. There were no, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, you're pitching all 9, buddy. Like,
well,
it's just crazy,
baseball back then was like a men's league. Like if you go watch a men's league game, or if you have a buddy that plays in a men's league game, you have a pitcher, you have a catcher.
Literally,
a first baseman, singular, and then those guys play that position the entire game.
I love it. It's just crazy. It's how much it's really changed. And I mean, it's been 100 years, but how now you have so many to replace with it, essentially. A little recap and preview. Obviously, something we did last week. College football. The big game was 2 weeks ago. If you do remember, we'll definitely have to mention this. The big Dallas school. SMU was 15. Memphis was 24. Memphis took the win. Largest cocktail party. We missed that, Doc. There were a few cocktails there. You've heard that one before, right? The largest outdoor cocktail party. It's Georgia versus Florida. They have it. No one's held. It's like, I swear. It's Georgia versus Florida. Every year they have it in Jacksonville. Great game. Georgia beat Florida. The last week, though. Let's talk about last week's game. That was a couple weeks ago that we had to kind of recap. Last week's game. Called this the Big Daddy. Number 1 versus number 2. Alabama versus LSU. Did either one of you watch the game? You were probably here all day, were you not?
I watched bits and pieces of it. And you kind of blew it for me because I recorded the game and you text me LSU explanation, with all these, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop looking at I'm not going to answer your text. I'm not going to
I'll leave you alone on Saturdays.
Just don't even be texting me stuff because then you screw everything up, man. And so I already knew LSU won before I even watched the game.
Well, how are you going to not know unless you turn off your phone, your TV, your radio?
Right.
Yeah, the days of, I'm going to record it and watch it later.
Right.
Hoping you don't.
Yeah, because I get alerts on from
everything,
ESPN.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, great. I called it, though. I told you. You could tell from that first drive, Tua, and I'm sure you didn't see this, but maybe you saw the replay of it. But when Tua went down, he looked okay running, but point man, he scrambled well for a lot of good quarterbacks, but not for him. I could tell my point man, like he's not. And then he fumbled it, and LSU recovered. They could have got a touchdown, or at least a field goal on that first drive. He fumbled it like at the 5-yard line. Like broke the pocket, was running, did something weird with the football and fumbled it, and you could just tell he just wasn't 100% on his foot. Anyway, hey, LSU this week though. We have another prediction I'm going to get to in a minute. I had LSU over Bama last week, but anyway, your team, Notre Dame. What did they play last week?
Notre Dame played Duke.
Duke, that's right. I was like that's why it was
a bunch of smart dudes playing football.
Literally, right?
You didn't see anybody throwing helmets around on that game.
No, you did not, which we'll get into in a minute. Minnesota, that was the other big one last week. Minnesota, they're 8, whatever they are now, 8. I think they were 17th last week. They beat Penn State. We were talking about Penn State. They could maybe sneak into the college football playoff.
Yeah, and then they went to Minnesota.
Minnesota, wow. I mean, got to give them some props. Baylor, though, this was the other one last week. I also said, hey, warning, watch out, Baylor. You're hyped on, well, not hype. It's a Texas school that's ranked.
TCU, Baylor.
Said,
TCU.
watch out. Yeah. It was a close game. They held on 29-23 in overtime, so that went into OT. Another game, too, number 13, Wisconsin over number 18, Iowa. Yeah, whatever. It was a good game, though, 24-22. Last week was a lot of good games. This week, I don't know if we'll see. Not as many ranked teams, so it's not. This week, though, got to talk about your boys. Now, that's what I was like, I know there's some Notre Dame news in here. Your sellout streak in Notre Dame. We spoke of my Broncos. As terrible as we are, still selling out.
Which Broncos?
Nuts. Denver Broncos. Pride and joy. Bleed blue and orange. They have a sellout streak since 1970. It's the longest in the world, essentially. It is. Ongoing. And it's like the second longest ever to the Green Bay Packers. Which is crazy because we suck now. And I'm like, how do we still sell out games? I don't know. But we sell out. Their tickets go on sale in July, and they're bought up literally in like 20 minutes. Anyway. But that's crazy. That streak's finally going to sell in for Notre Dame when they're actually good this year. And it's against Navy, which is the first time, A, that they've been, or B, whatever, what stat I'm on. But the fact that this is the first time they've both been ranked since like 78. which is nuts.
What do you mean both been? You mean Notre Dame?
First time that Notre Dame and they're playing each other.
Well, first of all, you know why Notre Dame plays Navy? Do you know this story? Here's the story. Notre Dame, during the Great Depression, was about to go bankrupt and go close the university.
Right.
The Naval Academy sent 400 men to the university for their education, to pay for their education during World War II, after World War II. And it saved the university.
Huh.
Notre Dame, as a tribute to the Naval Academy, said, we will always play you in football, always have you on a schedule. So there's a great respect for the U.S. Navy.
That's awesome.
And that's why that's why that game exists.
So every year Notre Dame plays Navy.
And I know
every
that,
year.
but I didn't know why.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they play Air Force every year too, don't they? I think they do all the armed forces. Air Force, Navy, and
they play Navy every year specifically.
Army. So they play Army.
But they'll rotate in and out Army and Air Force.
Yeah.
But they do that because
so they play 2 of the armed forces every year.
Typically.
Yeah, for sure Navy, I guess. But I thought almost every year they definitely see Air Force or Army's on there.
Navy's a staple.
Yeah. Well, the end of the year too, which I always remember is Navy versus Army. That's a cool end of the year game. Whatever that might be a titled game, but that's a cool game too at the end of the year.
So it's kind of neat to know that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the not selling out, which is kind of interesting because Navy's good this year.
I know, that's what I'm like. How is it ended on this? And here's just 73s. If it ends, they ended at 273 games, which dates back to Thanksgiving to 1973.
Right.
And they're also behind the leader of Nebraska, who has 373 sellouts. The 73, which is really weird. Y'all are going to end on 273. The streak goes back to 1973.
Yeah.
And you're behind the leader that has 373.
So is there a chance that Notre Dame fans, alum,
see that and buy out the tickets?
Get wind of that?
I wish.
They might, but
that'd be cool to see.
I think the other indicator is, if I were Brian Kelly, I'd be a little concerned because it says the alumni base is tired of seeing another 10-2 team. Or right?
Wow.
But who are you going to bring in? That's the I'm here. Point me in Arkansas, and that's the trouble at this low that we're facing.
There's 2 guys that said they would love to coach Notre Dame. One is Urban Meyer, and another one is what's his name from Alabama.
I doubt he leaves. Great. I doubt he ever leaves Bama, but either one of them would be great. Or I'm thinking even Harbaugh would be cool. That'd be a cool transition.
Urban Meyer coached at Notre Dame. He was one of Lou Holtz's assistants.
You got to bring in a name like that. You got to bring in big.
He was going to take the Notre Dame. He wanted the Notre Dame job, but accepted the Florida job the same week that the Notre Dame job came open.
Wow.
And Notre Dame offered him the position. He said, "Man, I already committed to Florida."
Well, let me throw in a little college football, and I hardly ever watch college football. What about the talk about Deion Sanders coaching Florida State?
I saw that. I did see that.
Is that just a one day and gone, or is that an actual real thing?
We'll see.
How do you think that would go?
Terrible.
I do too.
Terrible. I mean, he could be a cool recruiting coordinator or something along those lines, but
it would be a sinking ship sunk.
And you went because Florida State just won a championship, so it went from them winning a championship. It'd be like almost, I hate to say it, like Broncos going from winning the championship to barely 3, 4, 5 wins. Well,
not to say that Deion Sanders is not a good dude.
Couldn't be a great coach, but
he's
never done that before.
He's got so many irons. I don't think he's ever coached before. Period.
Right.
He'd be a guy that's like in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go. Hold on, I got a text. He's just too much going on.
Hold on real quick.
Prime time.
Yeah.
Someone's calling prime time.
Yeah, hold on. Someone's calling prime time. It's Michael Irvin. I got my buddy, my old teammate.
Oh, my gosh.
The number 23 Navy at number 16 Notre Dame. Regardless, should be a great game.
It's going to be
another good one this weekend. Georgia in another fight. Number 4 Georgia at number 12 Auburn. And the other big one, Baylor's got their test of the year. Of course, last week, already kind of up against the ropes against TCU. But now here comes and walks in, or I should say at home, but against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of last week. They didn't play that well either, but they can put a lot of points up. So I imagine that game could be high scoring. So Baylor, Oklahoma, great little game right there. Recap, obviously, college, or I should say now to your Cowboys. What's going on, Doc? What do you think? You got to get rid of Garrett?
Yes.
I mean, that's obviously a foregone conclusion, right?
Yes.
We've talked about this on previous shows.
Yes.
Go more than 5 years, you don't win a championship.
Yeah, Steve, my pizza guy, the guy that delivers our pizza to the house. He came up. He's so funny, man. I opened up the door. He goes, "Hey, man." He was all upset with the Cowboys, right? And he says to me when he pulls
About a
up,
month ago.
Yeah, he pulls up. He says, "Hey man, when's your black cousin going to show up and start playing some defense?" Because Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
So then the next week he shows up, and I guess Lawrence had a great game that week, right? And he shows up the next week with our pizza, and he says, "Hey, I'm glad your black cousin finally decided to show up," right? So he says to me, he goes, Garrett's got to go, man. He goes, there hasn't been, and I don't know, I can't verify this. Keep in mind, it's coming from my pizza delivery guy. Mm-hmm. He says there hasn't been a head coach hired at the professional level that hasn't won a championship. If he hasn't won a championship within the first 5 years of his coaching for that team, for that particular team, they never do.
Oh, wow.
Be interesting.
I was going to say, I thought you were going that they don't have a job past 5 years.
Yeah,
No.
and that's what we're saying, because now we're double that with Garrett. It's now 10 years in, he doesn't even have a ring.
So his point being is, if you hire a head coach, if he doesn't bring a championship within 5 years, you need to make a change.
Well, so interesting way I look at it, obviously relating it back to baseball, is some organizations, hold their players, their staff accountable, and if they don't reach a certain level of accomplishment, then they're gone.
Right.
And we saw that one of the most decorated, one of the best baseball minds, leader, all the qualities you're looking for in a manager, not make the playoffs and get axed, just like that with the Cubs. Cubs didn't make the playoffs. They were in first place with a month to go. Just
they made a change.
Well, no, they not yet.
No,
they were in first place and they blew it. Essentially blew it, and the Cardinals ended up winning the division. The Brewers got the wild card, and the Cubs didn't even make the playoffs. Joe Madden fired. You would think the Cowboys would hold their players, staff accountable in that same fashion.
And here's what it comes back to when Dad and them asked me about it, and I heard this on multiple stations before here on Wednesday. It comes back to who? Who's the top guy? Who is going to fire him? Jerry Jones. And the point is, and unfortunate,
well, he'll fire him.
Well, we'll see.
I think so.
He's going to have to, but here's why he hadn't. Because what? Jason Garrett does what? Everything he wants him to do. Why did Bill Parcells say they're not getting along? He's a yes sir, no sir kind of guy to Jerry Jones, and he's done just enough. He definitely brought in the talent. That's the one good thing. He's definitely got a mind for talent. He just doesn't have a mind for being a full head coach. He needs to be an offensive coordinator. I doubt they'd ever do that. Hey, you're going to be demoted. We're going to bring in a real head coach. But that's why. It's because he's a yes or no sir guy. The guys here in Dallas were talking about it, and I'm like, that's why. And that's why he's still around. Even after all these mediocre years, it's like, and we're all right. I think
he's still around because it's going to boil down to that's a decision Jerry Jones has made to stick with him, and he's got to get Garrett a ring so bad to justify keeping him.
That too. Now he's on that high horse where it's like, now I've got to prove my point.
Yeah,
because he is a very stubborn man.
You can be a yes or no sir guy as long as you win. He's got to still coach.
Well, I think Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees, he comes from the booth as a commentator straight to the managing one of the most historic franchises in all of baseball. I don't think he was a baseball manager. I think he was a players manager, meaning that he could manage the players.
Right.
When you got to pull someone out of the game when they're reach their pitch limit and in the middle of a no-hitter, how is that player going to react to you as the manager that just pulled him? How are you going to keep that guy happy? Because the decision is not coming from Aaron Boone to pull him out at a certain pitch count. The decision is already predetermined by the front office. Boone is just telling them what they've already said.
Yeah.
So he's managing the players and keeping the clubhouse happy. So that's kind of like
So that's my question for you with David Ross taking over the Cubs.
It's exactly what it is.
Right?
Because I asked him about this last week. Because we like the Bell. We kind of like the Beltran thing. I like Beltran. I used to love watching Carlos, and now he's back to the Mets. I liked it somewhat more so than the Ross.
Yeah.
hiring.
Well, we'll see how Ross does. I hope.
Well, it's not about how Ross does. It's let's see how the Cubs do.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's, and all he is, I think, is he's an expectations manager.
Yes.
He's not making.
So Theo's going, here's what needs to be done.
Well, not Theo, but the Cubs, are a very analytical team. They have a huge analytical department. a lot of money is poured into that to create these stats, these numbers. So, I mean, if you're spending money on those, then you have to use them, or you're just wasting money.
Yeah.
So that team consists of, let's say, 30 people. David Ross is just one person. So if you got 30 people saying this is how it should be done,
got it.
then you got to do it. But, I know you got something else going on to touch on, how baseball is played in the world in the regular season is not the baseball that we saw in the postseason. And the Nationals, World Series champions, showed us that, slugging home runs throughout the regular season is not going to win you a World Series. They went back to stealing bases, bunting. There was a hit and run that was a big topic. It was funny that a hit and run is a topic.
Yes, right.
Because it happens so it doesn't happen very often, and all of a sudden it happened, and then you got a guy stealing a base and scoring from first on a hit and run. They're like, "Oh my God, what is this new thing?"
Right.
And they're talking about it on MLB Network, and everybody's talking. So they showed us that. Yeah, hold on. They did what?
Yeah. Well, a lot of things that helped them too. We talked about that 50+% of their runs were scored with 2 outs. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Hitting behind the runner, moving runners over. It was a lot of small ball that that we do not see during the regular season because as fans and people buying tickets, we want to see the ball leave the ballpark.
Yeah.
I love their slogan that they rallied around when they were doing so poorly. They came to the ballpark and said, "Today we're going to go 1-0."
Yeah.
Today we're going 1-0.
Yeah.
That's what you got to look at it every week too. I mean, like I said, that's that Saban mentality.
I love that.
A couple weeks ago, we do have to mention this. Your Browns pick, the Broncos over the Browns. And then a couple weeks ago too, Dolphins got their first win finally. Texans, Bills, Chiefs grabbed their 6th a couple weeks ago, and the Ravens knocked off my Pats, my Super Bowl pick. That was a couple weeks ago, so I had to bring that up. Loved seeing the Broncos at least get a win this year. Oh, and that was the reason why, because Brandon Allen finally got to play, which was great to see. Brandon Allen, guy from Arkansas, University of Arkansas, finally get his first start ever, goes up against former Heisman winner Baker Mayfield, and actually beats him. I mean, it was kind of cool to see.
Listen, man, the Browns are on a 2-0 run right now. So
Yeah. Okay, Ravens last week. Ravens flying high. They upset the Browns upset the Bills, which you said this last week. I was like, wow, I could not believe they actually beat the Bills. Titans upset the Chiefs, which I was really surprised about. Falcons over the Saints. I mean, there's a lot of upsets last week. Dolphins over the Colts. It's kind of weird.
It was like the Saints just didn't play.
Right? I'm like
it was rigged.
The Falcons
almost.
are terrible too. I'm like, oh, so weird. Sunday Night Football, we talked about that. Cowboys. He's got to go. I mean, it's end of the conclusion, right?
They should have beat
at the end of this year. Oh, they should.
They
Vikings are a pretty good team though.
They're pretty good, but the Cowboys should have.
Yeah, great Monday night game. The Seahawks knock off the undefeated 49ers. That was actually a really good Monday night game. Now to this week. How about last night's game? We were talking about it before the show. The brawl.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate, really unfortunate that happens.
And you take, like I said, you have to look at the replay because we talked about this earlier about Myles Garrett. I mean, just kind of be in the heat of the moment, and now he's suspended for the rest of the year. And pretty much seems like indefinitely, but we'll see how.
Wait, so when you say indefinitely, that means he'll never play again?
Well, I shouldn't say indefinitely. He's suspended for the rest of the year. I don't know.
I thought it was the rest.
He's suspended for the rest of the year.
He is suspended for the rest of the year.
Indefinitely. I think that's how they were wording it. Indefinitely. Suspended for the rest of the year indefinitely.
All these 3 players. Okay, so. Wow, you are right, and it is right. Myles Garrett indefinitely, the offensive lineman for the Browns.
Chauncey.
Pouncey for the Steelers. He got 3 games, and Ogunjobi, whatever it is for the Browns, a defensive tackle, he got 1 game.
So Pouncey
got 3, and then Myles Garrett is out indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, you wouldn't have seen that at the Duke Notre Dame game, and you will not see that this week in Duke versus Navy.
You might see it
Navy versus Notre Dame.
You might see it at the FIU versus Miami.
Oh, yeah, right. Now there's a good one.
But you bring up a good point though. It never fails, right? It's always like it's like in school. A kid gets punched, the kid punches back, the kid who punches back, the teacher sees that.
Yes.
And he's in trouble.
Right.
And he's going
gets more punishment than the initial puncher or
correct.
whatever. Yeah.
So I think you bring up a good point there. If you watch that closely, he was kind of responding to.
The reaction is there's no winners in this situation.
Absolutely.
There's no winners. You have a guy that I've never heard this man speak before, but after I heard him speak and watched his post-game interview, he owned it immediately. He owned it. I made a mistake. I reacted. My reaction was not appropriate. I'm willing to accept whatever penalty he was like, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. You
and
know?
that's a fair, like, literally.
And he owned it. And
yeah.
then when you listen to the other guy, the other party in the
infraction.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
the
the
fight.
quarterback, he's still putting the blame on. Well, you saw what he did to me. You saw what he did to me. Well, what did you own what you did?
Yeah, right.
And I'm not saying what he did was right,
Or you're not saying what he did justified.
I'm not saying he
response.
justifies that
Right.
either, because it's like, I always used to use this as an example, and now I actually know the answer. But how are you going to react when you have your first child? You can't predict your reaction.
Right.
It's just something that happens. How are you going to react when somebody tries to rip off your helmet? Well, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, someone tries to rip off your helmet, and here's
and you and I haven't experienced the 59 minutes prior to that either.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Or even more
Right?
like-
so
or-
we don't even
More like
know.
180 minutes or a lot
So
longer.
to clear
Well, yeah.
to
That's
clear
6
up
hours
my
at
to
last,
clear up
or-
my point of view, there's I don't think there's anything justifiable for the guy swinging his helmet. But what they need to look at is how did it get to that point?
Right.
What were the events that developed to get to that point?
And like we talked about this too. I mean, Myles Garrett plays defense. That happens to him. You never, like you said, never know how you're gonna react. And now you're in a game. You play a sport. Your adrenaline's up. Obviously, you are a defensive deep linebacker, or whatever. I always call them D ends because they always blitz so much. But you get my point. You're gonna probably 7 out of 8 times, 9 out of 10. That's probably you're gonna react with a little aggression. Not, oh, cool, dude. What's up? How you doing? My name's
Right.
Miles. What's your name? All right. None of the other games this week. Big game. Another kind of big one because Lions are pretty good. They're always kind of iffy. Cowboys at the Lions. How you feeling about this one?
Lions by 36.
Oh man, you're just down on the Cowboys. You are down and out.
No, I don't. Man, you're asking me a question that I have absolutely no way. I
just don't know how you feel. I mean, you've watched most of the Cowboy games.
I don't feel optimistic.
Gotcha. So you are. That's what I'm saying. You're already kind of getting on
I'm
that teetering level of just
I'm
like.
very just lukewarm.
We should be
right now,
7
man.
and what are we? 9 games. Should be probably 7-2. Honestly, let's be honest.
Correct. They're not playing to their potential.
Gotcha. Broncos. They faced the team you faced last week at the Vikings too. So I'm seeing probably an L for. But I'd love to see Brandon Allen get another start. He's playing the rest of the year because they put old. Hunchback, Flack out. Get the Flack out. Get the Flack out. I'm done with him. I'm so glad Flacco's out.
Flacco, another award winner of being a free agent at the right time.
Boom, big time. Are you a Saints fan? You kind of talked about him.
No, I'm just a football fan.
Gotcha.
I'm a Drew Brees
I
fan,
love
and
Drew
I have
Brees,
Alvin
yeah.
Kamara on my fantasy team. So I mean,
nice. They play the Buccaneers this week.
Speaking
so
of, how did we
NFC
do in
South.
our fantasy league last week?
I won. I barely took the victory. You need to put Mahomes in. You don't have him in. We'll get into that in a minute. They really know. They're kind of done games this
I
week.
didn't think he was starting last week.
He was. You need to get him back in. You know what he did? Let me tell you what he did. Let me show you how many points he put up too. Oh, you're gonna be like, oh man,
I should have had Mahomes.
You
this
should
is a
have.
league that I don't want to be in.
All right. So last week, what's that?
If you have a player in your league that has Mahomes on the bench, it's probably not a very serious league.
Oh, come
yeah,
on,
but-
man. He's been hurt. I didn't think he was coming back.
Yeah, but out of everybody in the NFL that gets
Well, he
talked
put
about,
35 up.
Mahomes is one of the most talked
Oh, yeah.
about players.
Here to your liking though, Mahomes last week put up 35.8. Your quarterback you had in Dak put up 32.8. So I mean, only
that's
3
pretty
points.
close.
So not bad.
Yeah,
My
not
quarterback,
bad.
unfortunately, Drew only put up 11 points.
Yeah, what a
But McCaffrey, I've been riding McCaffrey. 23 point. I have had some big. My defense, LA put up 22 points. So in the end, I win 111-89. Here's why: your tight end, he was out. He was hurt. Your tight end was out. Your kicker only got you 4. Your deep New Orleans only got you 4. Tyreek Hill blew up. He had
Yes, man,
27.
I'm so bummed. I picked the New Orleans defense, man.
Well, we need to make some adjustments. It's on your app. You just go press the button. I need to show you how to do this.
You got to put more money on it.
There you go. That exactly, because then you're going to pay attention.
I'm a big fantasy football player. I'm in 3 leagues. One I've been in since 2006. Pretty much the same group of guys. I think we lost one, picked up one, but same group of guys. It started off as a $200 league. We're up to $500. So $500 entry fee will have you paying attention.
You'll pay attention real
because
quick.
the
Big
first place money is a decent month's pay.
No doubt.
So another league I've been in for quite some time is now $250, and then another one I'm in is $25.
Nice.
What was ours to get in our league? How much was ours?
Oh, we did the free league. What are you talking about? We didn't put any money down on it. That's what I'm saying. We didn't. We started our first annual. We did it kind of late. I wanted to do fantasy
so
football.
you could kind of tell where my focus is.
Right.
It's boom. And I mean, I'm watching on one league. I watch it so much. Like when somebody adds and drops a player, I get the notification
Like,
because I want to see who dropped who and why, and then I'm going to go look at that player they dropped and see if it'll help me on my team. I pay attention.
I used to be like that. I got up to 8 leagues one year. I've been in one league now since 2006. I only do 1 a year with that one because it's almost like a third, well, however many jobs you got. But that if you want to get into it, and I put money on, I was in $100 a year league, and I won the first year, and I'm like, hell yeah. I was in it for a couple of years, but then it just becomes one of those things, and
it takes time.
It does take a little bit of time.
It does take time.
It takes a little bit of time. So that's the only thing. That's why this year I just did the one with Doc, and then, but man, it's fun, especially when you get
I love fantasy football. Yeah, I love it.
Get your friends involved. Y'all do, especially if you do a
How
live
are you doing
draft.
right now? Are you winning?
I'm in first place in the big one.
Nice.
The big one?
Knock on wood.
Is that right?
All right,
Yeah. It's
all
all
right.
right. It's all right. Hey, you're this deep in the season. You should keep. Who do you got? You got Kamara.
My starting lineup.
So see, we're loaded up. So it's only 2 teams, so we're loaded up. I mean, I got like Breeze, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, McCaffrey. Yeah, I do. McCaffrey, Kelsey. So man, that makes it more difficult too, and more fun when you have 8, 10 people in it, because now your teams aren't as loaded.
That's right, very hard.
My lineup looks like this, which is good for me. I started the Browns defense; they went off, scored me 22 points.
Nice.
I got Dak, Alvin Kamara, Melvin Gordon, Michael Evans, Amari Cooper. Ooh. I'm having to start Kyle Rudolph, who I picked up off the waiver wire, because Hooper is hurt. Hooper, the tight end for the Falcons. They're not sure if he's going to play, so I have him on the bench right now. He might play. And then I got Joe Mixon as my flex.
Nice. That's a pretty stout lineup.
I got your boy Lindsey. He's come through.
Yeah, he's not as good as last year, but definitely he's had a couple of games.
He had that game that you just mentioned 2 games ago. And I had him in my lineup, Browns, and he scored. I think he had 2 touchdowns.
I was saying he had around 20 in that game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the thing. I hadn't used him as much this year. I was kind of because I have him actually in the league I've been in forever, my 10-year league, and I had him. I was hoping to start him as my flex position, and it's just kind of been kind of iffy here and there. So I'm like, run that guy. He is a baller. I mean, he's from Colorado, went to high school there.
Yeah,
I mean,
they love him there.
Love him there. I'm like, dude, give him the ball. He wears Terrell Davis's number and cherishes it. So definitely cool. But yeah, we got so next year. My point being, we're gonna hopefully next year get it about a month out. Let 2 months out and let people know we want people like you in it. We'll make it more realistic. Maybe we put $10 down. We can all do $10.
No, you know what? If you don't like to put a dollar amount on it, you put a restaurant of the winner's choice on it.
There you go.
And then everybody, we all gather at that restaurant, and the one that doesn't have to pay is the guy who wins.
There you go.
So I pick because I'm gonna win, and you guys pay.
There you go. There we go. I like it.
You ain't winning, dude. Now you've drawn the line in the sand, bud.
All right.
And I'm not a cheap date either.
Oh, Del Frisco's, here we come.
Hey, we won't be going to Fuzzies?
No.
Oh, come on. McDonald's?
No, Del
I thought we were bringing the kid.
Actually, my spot right now is Del Frisco's.
I love some Del Frisco's. I was looking at that. It definitely can rack up a nice bill there in a hurry, but it is some good food. Yeah. Some good eating. Let's get to Sutter Dud moment. I'm going to have a brief little chamber just for him.
Brief chamber. Yeah, you got to put him in the chamber.
Got to. But California firefighters, got to talk about this. The studs, super studs. I saw this last week, and every year it comes out at this time when they report their overtime. One firefighter, LA reported 5,600 overtime hours. 5,600. But it did accumulate to $360,000. So they are paying them well. One over these crazy numbers, 90% of the sworn LAFD and LAPD personnel and 40% of the civilian volunteer earned overtime last year. And of that, 90% that the sworn part, that took up 77% of the total city's overtime dollars. It's crazy. Their base salary, 65 to 91K, and some of them are out there making 100 plus K in overtime. So
wow.
Kudos to those guys who put in retarded amounts, ridiculous amounts, amazing amounts of overtime to keep, try to keep some houses, families, belongings alive. That's all they're really doing out of me because it's almost inevitable a lot of the time. So it's crazy to see them out there fighting the good fight. Really, it's crazy. Hopefully they can figure something out. But to you, sir, to the chamber, and I have off the top of the head questions. So let's get into it. We talked about it earlier. The baby life. What's that been like? When was real quick. When was she born, or when was he born? Jackson. That's right. When was Jackson born?
6/10/19.
Wow. So what's it been like over the past 5 months?
5 months. It's crazy. It really is crazy. Like
you said, you asked the question. So what's it like having a baby? To you now. I mean, everyone's different.
Mm-hmm. To me, it's rewarding. It's refreshing. That I can bring in another human being. I'm curious to see how how he progresses in his growth, what kind of stud he turns into.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it's been a lot of fun. You know, you look at things different. Unfortunately, one of the things that we see on Facebook is, you know, people announce tragedies as well as accomplishments, and sometimes you see things and then you think to yourself, "Wow, that event right there, how would that affect my son?" So you look at it different.
Wow,
you know,
yeah.
you know, so that's been an eye opener. You know, just the way I handle my finances. You know, little things like how quick I put my seatbelt on now. Just little things that you take advantage of because you know ultimately you're responsible for yourself. You know, you have a partner. You know, my wife. I take her. I'm responsible for her in a sense because I'm the man I'm supposed to protect. But now I have another person that can't protect himself or can't fend for himself yet because he's a baby, and now that's my responsibility, and that's huge.
And you'll love that.
And I love
That's
it.
cool. It's the coolest thing to see because I can only imagine me, as much as I love my dogs, to have a kid. My gosh, I could only imagine the love that pours out.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Now, how often are you up?
All the time. Well, you know, everybody asks that question. Well, how much do you sleep?
Yep.
Well, I never slept anyway.
Okay, right. I love it. That helps you out. Then you're good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just one of the. You know, everybody's wired different. I'm a go. I'm go.
Yep.
You know, there's always something to do. You know, if people aren't up in the United States and you're a salesman, sell to people in China.
Right.
You know, they're up. They're buying. They're shopping. You know,
Yeah.
figures. You know, so that's kind of how my brain works. Where I'm always going. It's hard for me to shut down. You know, so you know, the nights where he's up, and my wife is she's a sleeper. She'll knock out for 8 hours and won't wake up once.
That's awesome.
So I'll say, you know what, I got it, and I'll take them to the other room and just sit there and research something on my phone or just something like that. So I sleep has not been an issue.
Has the food and the dieting changed? You said McDonald's one of your new favorite spots, or
No,
I didn't-
never.
I thought-
This dude will
Yeah.
never eat.
Good. Okay, so you're still eating the same then? Nothing's isn't because it seems like too, which I've read this in articles where you have kids, you're on the go more. You though are already kind of going where they don't seem to want to cook as much. They want to get fast food more. Or
Well, my go is at home. I office from home. I do a lot of things from home. I mean, you can do a lot of things with technology now.
That's
you know,
me. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm right there with
being
that.
a loan officer, I closed a loan for a guy in Colorado, in
Yeah.
Denver, who's also a Broncos fan.
Nice.
And I never talked to him once on the phone. Never saw him in person. Never
That's
even talked to
crazy.
him on the phone. Everything was through Facebook Messenger.
Wow.
Closed the refinance for him. So I still make it a time to cook.
Yeah. So now
You know-
for you, which is awesome. Nothing's really changed too much besides having a baby and being up more, tend to the baby.
As far as my lifestyle,
Yeah.
no, not
I'm just trying to
really.
get questions for when I have a baby. That's what I'm trying to figure. Because I'm at home. I am at home.
It gets better. Everything gets better with a child. It's just better.
And-
Life is good with.
Oh yeah, it's so much better.
Right? You can't imagine life without him now.
No, not
Right,
not
can
at
you
all.
imagine life
I
without
couldn't-
him?
And that's one of the things. Like I think about, our time is limited. You know, one thing we can't overcome is time. You know, like I need to make sure my time that I have with this kid, my son,
Right.
is maximized. Because when
Correct.
I'm not here, I want to make sure that he carries on things appropriately.
Correct.
When are you going to bring sports on, or sports even going to be a worry for you? Just let him figure it out, or are you going to say put a ball in the sand? Maybe a
No,
goal in the sand?
I'll immediately, and it's not because I'm a sports fan. It's because I'm a people person.
Your dad, I mean, playing catch. I mean, that was
No,
even
no,
my
no,
dad
no.
didn't play baseball though. It's just
where
something
I'm
good
where I'm
to know your
going
dad.
is my approach to sports now that I know what I know about life and how sports are, played and my approach to sports is not to be a sports person. My approach to sports is to use sports to become a successful human being, to a contributor to society.
Correct.
Sports will teach you
Correct.
accountability. I want my son to want to go play a game because he knows that he's going to let his teammates down if he doesn't show up. That's accountability. I want to learn how to work as a team. So you use these things that you learn in sports to leverage them on how you approach
Learn
life.
how to win.
Big time.
Learn how to lose.
Learn how to win, learn how to lose, learn how to adjust.
Correct.
So sports will be a huge part for that matter. And I had this conversation with my wife. I don't want him to I don't want to put him in sports to become a Major League Baseball player. Obviously, that would be awesome. That would just be icing on the cake. And it's kind of how I, when I work with kids, when I do the one-on-one lessons, I tell the parents, our goal here is to make a good dude,
Right.
A stud, a contributor, a positive contributor to society.
That's
If he ends up being, a great high school player, cool. If he ends up, going to college, play baseball in college, awesome. If he gets drafted, becomes a Major League Baseball player, icing on the cake. But that should not be the goal because those are so far few in between.
Correct. And if he ends up doing something different, music.
Or soccer even, and it's soccer instead of baseball.
Or something outside of sports.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, man, as a father of 4, I'm so happy for you because I think it's the greatest blessing in the world.
Yeah.
That God will share life with you, your son. It's your son to take care of and to love and nourish and care for forever, forever, right? I will say it goes by incredibly fast. Gardner just turned 17.
Wow.
And it seemed like, I'm not kidding you, man, it seemed like yesterday. He was born October 17th. The night that he was born, it was the opening game of the World Series between the Angels against the San Francisco Giants.
Wow.
And
2002.
2002. And he sat in my lap, and newborn kid, and I literally remember going, Gardner,
you're going to be K-Rod.
I said, this is
Yeah, right.
I said, this is baseball. I said, you and I are going to watch the World Series together.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that was 17 years ago. And another highlight is when the first time your son says to you, Daddy, I love you. Daddy.
Yeah.
And he calls you Daddy,
Yeah.
and he says, I love you. Right? It's unbelievable. And here's what else is unbelievable. When that same kid, when Jackson's 17, and he comes home at the end of the day after school, and you walk in the door, and he runs up and gives you a big hug, and he says, I love you, Dad.
Yeah, awesome.
And Gardner does that every day, man. And I'm telling you, man, there's nothing more valuable in life than that. So I'm so happy for you, man.
I kept it easy for you today in the chamber. I didn't want to go hard on you. I kept it baby related. I know you had the newborn, so I want to talk about that. We've had this discussion before, maybe the third time, which we're going to get you on a third time. We'll get more into the baby discussion because we're trying to talk just so we can talk. We're going to try to talk me into having a baby because we're kind of on the we want to, but we'll talk about that in a whole another show.
Well, you're not getting any younger.
That's true. No, exactly. And that's if we're gonna have one, we want to do the things like you want to do. I want to play ball with them, or just go just ride a kite, whatever we do, ride a bike or go whatever.
Life becomes more meaningful, man.
Yeah,
it does. The older you get, and we've talked like.
No, I'm talking about when you have kids. It just becomes more
the older
meaningful.
you get though too. I think the older you get, you realize that. Like even myself, or maybe 5 years ago, I'm like kid. Now I'm like, you realize like, hey, you're not getting, and then you see people like you having kids and how meaningful it is to you.
Don't you already feel this? You realize that living for you is one thing. Living for others,
so much greater.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and I think naturally, me as a person, I've always been a very generous person, generous with finances, generous with time, generous with knowledge, and not to sound selfish, but if I didn't give one more thing away to anybody else other than this kid, I would be fine with that.
Yeah. On next week's show, we're just going to cap it off there with a nice little simple, beautiful ending with kid talk. The next week's show, we're going to think about this real quick. How much did you watch NBA growing up?
Quite a bit.
Enough so to where if you, real quick off the top of your head, I say, give me your all-time starting 5. Could you give me an all-time, like your 1 through 5?
Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, David Robinson. Who am I missing?
Dr. J.
Charles Barkley.
There you go, Charles Barkley. I love it. That was a good one. Love it. That was a great lineup.
Yeah.
He's got 3. He's got 3 that are on mine. You got 3 that are on mine, by the way. But next week, I love it. Thank you, Steve. But next week, it's all things basketball. It's quick. Well, not all things, but Final Four predictions. Got to do those. NBA Finals predictions.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead with your 5.
I've got to tease that. That's for next week.
Okay.
We'll talk about that after the show. And then, of course, that's what we're going to get into next week, our all-time starting 5. Because Michael Jordan just released his a couple weeks ago, made big news because, of course, he put himself in there. Why wouldn't you? But then he put Magic himself, Pippen, Worthy, and Elijah on. And mainly because...
Why wouldn't Jordan put him in there, man?
Well, yes,
right?
exactly. So that was a little topic of discussion.
Little brand building also.
Exactly. So we're going to get into that next week. We'll have our predictions for the college and NBA, and then we'll go with our all-time starting 5. We'll get back to What's Up, Doc. We'll have a fun segment, I'm sure. There's enough.
Yep.
AB he has a meeting today with the NFL. He's always in the news. He always finds a way. And, of course, recap and preview all that and much more. Don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, SoundCloud to hear all the episodes. You can view them right here, like today, on YouTube. Go follow us on there, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, it's not up today, but it's some days anyway.
Someday.
Our beautiful website.
I should put it up there.
Studandud.com. Go view that guy. You can get it all there.
BigLeagueLender.com.
Hey, where do people get in touch with this guy?
Well, on my next line, it says, thank you so much for joining us today, Steve.
Oh, hey, sorry, man.
I love it.
I don't have a script.
I give it to you. You're supposed to print it out. I'm just going to start printing it out, and I'm giving it to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Steve. And once again, where can we all find you on social media?
So I have my personal Twitter account, SteveKent34. Everybody, that's.
I need to start following that. Then there we go. I forgot about that one.
It's a little different follow than some of the other social media because those are my thoughts, and I try to keep it separate from selling something.
Which is the
Big League Lender, mortgage loan officer for Synergy One Lending, aka the Big League Lender. Last time we talked, I was just kind of getting rolling.
Yeah.
Now
it sounds like you're
great website, and your bio stuff looks fantastic. Man, it reads.
Yeah. I probably share my bio, and I'm not exaggerating, probably 10 times a week.
You need to.
At least
that's
10.
awesome.
No, well, not just because I'm advertising, because I'm, with somebody new. Instead of just sharing my website, like, okay, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
Normally you would just go bigleaguelender.com. I go to my website, click on About Us, and then I share that page.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So they go to that first.
So it's like a link that boom.
Yeah. So they go to that first because I'm so proud and I'm so thankful for the bio that you wrote for me. It's awesome. It sums up who I am and what I'm trying to do.
It's because I know you, bro.
Yeah.
I know you. Reads nice.
It reads nice, and I get complimented so many times on. The guy that built my website did a great job, and I get complimented on that, and I get complimented on the bio so much all the time. It's crazy.
You wrote that, huh?
Yeah,
he wrote it for me. Yeah,
He did the wet. Look at you. Look at Doc. Multifaceted, talented, like all of us here. I mean, you with baseball. Come on.
How you come across grammatically. Is that the right word?
Yes.
It's super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the debates I got into last night when I was talking about the whole NFL
which you
brawl,
got into a
heated debate was I took a shot at the dude, his grammar.
That'll always get him. I love it. I do too.
I said, well, you're over here leading the league in bad grammar.
I love it.
And he said, and then it was.
Oh, that's good stuff.
That's funny, man.
Great way to end it. Thank you so much for joining us once again, Kent.
Thanks,
Steve Kent. Seriously, get you back on. Literally, if not before then, back March. I mean, you know what I mean. February even, somewhere where baseball's.
Do I need to pick another World Series champion? Is that
well,
the deal?
you'll do that then when we have them on.
Let's figure out where after free agency's over and all the chips fall. Then that would be the right time to make a prediction.
You know what my early bird prediction is? I'll just give it right now.
Right now.
Early bird prediction.
All right.
World Series champion. As much as I hate, it pains me. It pains
Yankees.
me to say this.
Yankees.
The New York Yankees.
We'll see.
We'll see.
They're about
okay. We'll let's end it on a question regarding predictions. So the most sought after free agent right now is Garrett Cole.
Yes.
Do we all agree about that?
Oh,
yes.
Definitely. Yeah,
okay. So what's your prediction where he lands?
Angels.
I don't know. I guess anyone can spin that. To me, that's why I don't know.
He returns home to California and plays with Mike Trout. And Mike Trout is a big reason influencing him to come to California. And Madden's the coach.
Manager.
I'm going to go Northeast. I'm going to go either Red Sox or the Yankees. I don't even know if the Yankees even need him.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know you know what I mean though, but I get my point. I don't know if they'll go after him. Is my point. If they go after
they got the money
else.
and they will go after.
That's
him.
what I'm saying.
They will go after. Him.
So that just to help them solidify the championship.
I think that's a good number 2, but I think he'll end up in California.
I'm going to say there's an outside chance he ends up here in Texas.
Ooh, that'd be cool to watch,
dude. If that comes true, I'm taking you to dinner.
If I'm him,
Del Frisco's, boy, you're okay.
I don't care. Okay. I'm taking him to Del Frisco's.
Yeah. By the way, I do have opening day.
Hopefully that tape
opening day tickets. Ranger opening days. We actually got a season pass.
The new stadium's gonna be so pretty.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
Stadium's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna.
Is it too late to get a stadium pass? I may need to do that. It probably is.
Probably not.
I don't know. I'll have to check.
But some of the packages were sold out. Interesting. They had a $400,000 season pass.
Wow.
$400,000 for 4 seats for season tickets. $400,000. there was how many ever there were, I can't remember, maybe 20 or 30. They're all sold out. They're the first package that sold out.
Those are some deep pockets.
Deep pockets.
Deeper than I have.
Yeah,
Man.
They're counting on that stadium driving in a lot of business.
I bet it's like
That's
AT&T,
another reason why Cole might be interested, because whoever pitches now with the Rangers, think about where they're going to be pitching all year, either indoor here, indoor in Houston, or the West Coast.
That's why I think, and a lot of people think that the success that Cole had was because of the pitching coach. Probably had something to do with it. But I also believe the environment, the inside the stadium. I think that had something to do with it.
I agree.
Going back to your fantasy football, that's why a lot of the times, if like I'll go with the Saints kicker, because half their games, actually more than half, because they play the Falcons too, or you know what I mean. So over half their games are going to be indoor.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what talks though, Steve?
Money.
And he's
More than anything.
Well, who has a lot of it?
New York Yankees.
Well, who else? Texas.
Yeah, they do.
They don't have. I mean, there's not a single super high profile free agent player that's been brought in over the last.
You know who they need to bring back? The Big Sexy. The Rangers need to get the Big Sexy back.
As a coach or something.
Right. All right, we'll know that. Thank you all for listening. Until next week, I'm Josh Smith.
I'm Bob Lawrence.
And for Steve Kent, thank you all.